Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Thursday night PRT handicap race. I am Riley Harvey for VCN, and this is the start of a fantastic race. We are going to be covering 28.44 kilometers, 460 meters of elevation, handicap race. So we're all carrying a varied weight. Some carrying less weight, some carrying more weight than usual, and we are hoping that that will normalize, equalize, level the field somewhat and make it a challenging event for everyone that's taking part. Thanks to all those tuning in on the stream. If you want to send a message, get in touch with the studio. We are on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, all manner of different platforms, and we're eager to hear your questions and answer them. So just give us a shout out, give us a message anywhere. I am checking that my mic is working tonight, because last week I unbeknowingly switched to a default mic which didn't have connected, and spent the entire evening just commentating like I usually do, chatting away to myself, and nobody could hear me. Which I did get a comment through the chat, but at the time I did have the mic turned off anyway, so I just thought, oh yeah, someone's tuned in at the wrong moment. But yeah, commentated the whole race, and you guys got to watch it blissfully ignorant, listening to a little bit of the funky music that we have playing in the background. Yeah, so it's an out and back race, so we've got 14 kilometers out, and then we turn around, come back down the same sort of course that we've attacked, so it's slightly different terrain on the way back. All of the courses that we run in the handicap, well, 99% of the courses that we run in the handicap races have elevation in them. They have some kind of hill climbing in them. The handicap only works when there is some elevation in there to bring it into effect. You know, the stronger riders can push big watts on the flat and their weight doesn't really matter, but as soon as you put a hill in there, it really does start to slow them down. Just seeing Darren Ray's on the chat there. Darren's not able to take part tonight, missing out. Not missed an event since last October, I think it was, he was saying. So he's here to watch instead, but that's fantastic, Darren. Hopefully I'll give good coverage, and give me a shout out if you want any of the riders zooming in on. We've got 3 seconds to go now, and then we're going to go off. Race started. Quite a few riders now flying off the front. Andre Figara there, regular again of the handicap races, taking the lead and zooming off early on in this race. Andre has won at least one of the handicap races in recent history. Being joined up there by Adams, I think that's Matt Adams. But SP7 just behind them, not far behind them is Jordan Twiddy. We've got a good number of racers in here at the moment. Jordan, I think last weekend, was hitting his half marathon. I don't know how he got on in that one. If Will's watching, and perhaps he can fill us in on how Jordan got on, because he didn't fully commit to last week's race because he was hoping to take a lifetime personal best in his half marathon. So love to hear how he'd got on with that. The front group forming here: Kennedy, Davidson, and then there's a gap back to Anton Wouters. Back of this group is Bierun, just takes a flyer off the front there. Bierun opening a gap of 26 meters there. I'm sure a lot of you guys already watch this race regularly and know how it works, but basically for those who are new or just might be tuning in for the first time or watching this on catch up maybe, it's a handicap race. It's handicapped at 3.2 watts per kilogram, and the idea is that the stronger, more elite athletes who are able to train, ride frequently and have got plenty of power, they take their FTP, divide it by 3.2, and it'll give them their weight in kilograms for this race. So they will adjust their weight for this particular race, and those with the higher FTPs will carry heavier weights. It will slow them down on the hills. Those with lower FTPs who, you know, perhaps not able to train as frequently, aren't regular riders, they will lose weight, so they will have a benefit on the hill climbs. It just means it's more challenging for all of the riders. The stronger riders have to try a little bit harder to win, to get out in front, and the weaker riders, when they hit the hill, they get a little bit of a benefit. They get a little bit of a turbo that gets them back up there at the front with the stronger riders, in inverted commas. So yeah, keeps it a little bit more fun for everyone, not just the guys flying off the front and disappearing into the distance. If you are doing this calculation and you're looking at taking part in this race, you do need to do it in metric. It's 3.2 watts per kilogram per kilogram, so you need to convert your weight into kilograms, do the calculation. You can convert it back afterwards, back to your imperial, and change your settings back to imperial. That's what you want to do. You don't have to race the race in metric. That's a little tight pack forming there at the front, and 9 riders. It is a slightly flatter terrain here, so you're not having too many huge hills. It's looking like they're all sort of power climbs. So a good shout here for Andre Fugara. I think he's got a good shout at winning this race tonight. So we'll have to see how he gets on. We'll drop back through the field, see who else is taking part. I'd like to give everybody a little bit of camera time. I see Barry Wilson's there in a second group, chase group, with Anton Wouters, Nugba, and I think that's Harriet Rowstone there as well. Further back through the field here, we've got Anderson battling it out with the bots. Will, who organises these races, he always includes some pace bots. They're generally put in there to help the guys who are at the back end of the race, to give them someone to race with, wheels to hide in, and just basically give you somewhere to ride with. Further back here, we've got Verhoeven. Not too far away from Anderson. They can perhaps just jump that gap to the next group of pace spots. Riding through there. Almost as if they're listening to me. And this is the first of the little power climbs here. Gone from 2%, jumped up to 6 there. Verhoeven closed in on Anderson there. And these two guys not too far away from that. Next group on the road. Darren's just saying it looks like a good course that would suit him well. A mix of flats and hills, and I think it would, Darren. I think this would be a course that you would excel on. You'd be off up the front there. Got Thegison there, and you can see there's a couple of riders with SEC after the name, so Riders quite often tag in extra information in brackets after their name. So you'll quite often see the cat of the rider. If they're race masters, they might have say a C cat. Sorry, an age category. If they're racing masters races frequently, may have an M or a W to signify whether a male or female for different classifications within the races. And as in this case, you have some initials that usually indicates the team that the rider's riding for. The Hoven there, this says Anderson, as I say, he's got SEC after his name. Presuming that those two riders wearing the same shirt are on the same team. Fly back through here, see if there's anybody else. You saw Gilbert earlier on, and not sure if I've seen there. There we go, there's a couple more riders. I've got Gilbert. There, and just behind them we've got Gone. So we're back up at the front there, we've got Tucson taking in a hairpin there, being followed by SP7 and Fugata. It's good to see some of the regulars back. Barry had a little bit of a technical last week. Back racing with us tonight. Hoping didn't have a dropout. He'd got new broadband fitted and was having some teething issues with it, dropping out. He forgot of that, taking the lead on the front. Tucson, SP7 following. And again, a little bit of information for those new to the platform. RGT has a very accurate drafting dynamic. Accurate, yeah. It's a decent word to use for it. A lot of the platforms use a fuzzy drafting, which means that the drafting pocket behind the rider doesn't really exist because the computers don't know exactly where the rider is. All the rider positioning in RGT is handled by the main server, so they know where all of the riders are any one time. The drafting pocket behind the rider is much more accurate. I see Fugata there to the side of Tucson's not really benefiting from any draft. As he slots in behind him there. Sorry, I'm on Tucson there, that's why not showing. Tucson just slotting in behind Fugata now, and you can see that the drafting benefit in the top left hand corner in the green. He's saving 9,500 watts there. On quite steady heart rate there, 145. G7 not wearing a heart rate monitor tonight. No issue with that, but if anyone is interested in competing in virtual cycling events and wanting to take it, with a level of seriousness, definitely a recommendation to get yourself a heart rate monitor. Event organizers, that's one of the things that they look at as an easy tell of whether someone is racing legitimately, or for some reason that there are people out there who decide that they're gonna race an event with an e-bike. Not much of a challenge really, but yeah. So if you are interested in racing seriously, the heart rate meter, good investment. Fugata powering away here on this 10% incline. They're not too long, these climbs on this race today, but they are quite sharp, quite punishing. The SP7's managing to keep his cadence quite high on this climb, going up at 80, 82. So my cadence personally drops down quite a bit when we're on climbs like this, down to about 60, 65. And do a bit of grinding, not the spinning that you'd like to see. Not like Froomey, legs whirling away. A nice solid grind. Drop back. Adams and Kennedy now. And the second group that can just see those riders tantalizingly up in the distance, just cresting that hill. Kennedy and Davidson not too much further behind. I'll just bring this graphic across. We've got the power bars showing underneath the riders' names. You can see Adams and Kennedy there at the moment in blue and pale blue. So the power bars are in 7 sections. Davidson just goes flying there on the descent. They're carrying a little bit more weight than Adams in the way that he's just took off there. So those zones are depicted underneath the rider's name, and slightly different colours to the ones in the graph there, but they are active recovery, endurance, tempo, threshold, VO2, anaerobic, and neuromuscular power. The neuromuscular is what you see when the guys are hitting the sprints towards the end of the event and they're really putting the power down, and that's the sort of event, that's the sort of time when they won't be able to push that for very long at all. It's a very brief shredding of the muscles. Adams sees Bieran there at distance. Davidson just a little bit further on. Jordan Twitty racing well. No Will tonight. Will's been keeping himself busy with projects at home. Will is the organizer of these events and regularly races them, but been suffering from a persistent cold for a couple of weeks, persistent coldy cough, and has missed a few events. But he's also been pretty busy at home. Jordan goes past Matt Adams there. Adams straight onto the wheel, saving 320 watts in the wheel of Jordan Twitty there. Just see, looking up at the raw power, the power in the top left hand corner of the screen, you can see moments then when Adams' power is turning red. So the red watts in the top left hand corner, it shows that you're wasting power, if you will. It's being caused in this instance because Adams is banging into the back wheel effectively of Jordan Twitty at those moments, and wasn't quite exerting enough power for the app to take him around and past him, but he was just putting out a little bit more than he needed to stay in the position where he was. So it auto brakes you, it just slightly reduces your speed to keep you in the position where it thinks you want to be. And you may see that on some of the hard corners as well, some of the very sharp hairpin corners, you'll see that auto braking happening. some action happening at the front of the race here. I think we've got Bugara and Tucson battling now. This is the selection. We've got 18.3 kilometers left to go for these two riders. Last time I saw Bugara win the race, he did go early. He went early and had sustained power all the way through. Just raced it really well. I wonder if he's going to go early again on this race tonight. Tucson takes the lead over this mini power climb. Gradient off. Tucson there, again showing that overpowering to stay in the position where he is slightly. Adds a little bit more power and then character steps out. Past Bugara, Bugara instantly reacts. Go back down the field again, we see SP7 now. Somewhat isolated, he's being closed down by Davidson. Kennedy. Davidson and Kennedy working as a pair there, and not too far behind them as Beer runs. So this is going to be it's going to regroup. Group of 4 on the road. And then with Unsworth, Twiddy and Adams. Anton Wouters, Harriet Rosethorn, Barry Wilson, and Newboer there. This is looking like this group's going to come back together behind these lead racers. Will's just on the chat, shouting out for Matt to get on Jordan's wheel. Now that we've got you on the line, Will, I believe Jordan was smashing out a half marathon this weekend just gone. Did he get that completed? Did he manage to get his personal best? I hope he's giving full effort tonight and not holding anything back in reserve. Newberg just seemingly dropping here. Jordan Twitty, Anton Wouters, Barry Wilson and Harriet Rosedale holding it together, steady pacing. Oh, fantastic news. Just hearing that Jordan did hit his PB. But it was worth him taking it easy in last week's race. Group now scoops up Unsworth. The ranks are swelling. See if they can take it in turns. Do the pulling and sweep up Matt Adams as well. The slope now increases up 6.7%. Unsworth is swelled up and dropping straight out the back of this group. Jordan Twitty distanced as well. Come on boys, you need to get over the top together. Work as a group. Beer Run is the furthest away from that group, 25 meters over my Adams. Adams just slowly reeling him in. But it's rapidly approaching this crest. More strung out there. Made it to the wheel of Beer in there. Vision coaching is just saying that Jordan Twitty's got the raw watts to catch it all back up on the flat. Oh, the design now speeds rapidly increasing. Adams saving the equivalent of 200 watts there briefly, but Behrens just stretched the gap out. Behrens descending like an absolute brick here. It won't be too long now before we see the road coming back on itself. And fly up to the front. See Tucson and Fugata there, battling with each other. See the riders coming up. They look like they're riding on the gravel. Is it gravel riding there? So the way that the Magic Roads works is that it only creates the full scenery within a number of meters of the rider that you're focused on, so it's not using up too much of the computer processor power. Unfortunately, in instances like this, it does look a little bit unfinished, but for the riders where they can see the full section of the road. RGT are moving through ways of optimizing the platform to get it to work better and displaying more detail at the same time as running faster and smoother. Going and Tucson now approaching this climb from the other side. More of the pack coming through now. The Geeson there. Gilbert. There's still 13.1 kilometers left of this race to go. Davidson SP7 there. Working as a pair. 880 meters to the lead group. It's not looking likely that they're going to catch those guys up. Unless there's some kind of a technical up at the front. Kennedy was with Davidson, has got back from the looks of things. Bierun managed to distance Matt Adams on that descent by some margin. He's 200 meters into Matt Adams. Passes Kennedy. Starts the lower slopes of the climb. Kennedy quick to jump on that wheel. Only saving single digit watts, but it's always good to have a wheel to follow. Nurbur, Anton Wouters, Ari Wilson racing well tonight. It roast on Matt Adams. Jordan Twiddy, a lot catching up to do, 140 meters. Who was caught by this group earlier on, dropped, is just hanging on at the back here in sight of Jordan's wheel. Group of bots. De Geeson and his teammate Verhoeven there. Sorry, teammate Anderson. Verhoeven in that pack as well. Checking back in with Gilbert. And then we've got Gone some way further back down. Just racing a very steady tempo, Gone. Perhaps just using this race as a cool down. Wanting to be in a more populated world. Andre. Oof. Well, while we've been skipping around looking at the other riders, we've been missing Andre's move. He's opened up a gap of 171 meters over Tucson. Tucson's pushing hard. He's up at 4.3 watts per kilogram. Trying to get back to Bugada, but just about see him in the distance. It's a slight blur. He looks like a tree trunk. precision coaching just suggesting that it may have been a brief mechanical for Tucson, given that he's able to put out these sort of watts. He just had a chain drop, or could have been a digital mechanical. It's kind of still up there in the wattage stakes. Facing hard for Tucson here, trying to recover gap to Fagara, but I think Fagara has made his escape. It's looking like it's going to be a win for Fagara tonight, with Tucson second, P7 in third, but Precision Coaching is just saying that this is possibly the section where Jordan Twiddy and Unsworth could come back due to their weights within the game. And these sections suiting their weights better. Tucson's just steady somewhat. You can see Andre in the distance. Andre is only 140 meters away. On a slight incline now. Plus 1.7, building towards a power climb. Brief lull and then another power climb. Drop back to E7. Currently isolated, but Davidson's been making good inroads into that space. Bieran also. Blasting away here, again to the wheel of Davidson. Straight through and off the front. Eased, letting Davidson back to his wheel. Not quite there yet. Bieran looking like he's wanting some company to work his way up to SP7. Now pushes crest. Davidson needs to keep close to the wheel of Bieran here. I think Bieran carries extra weight and descends very quickly. See that gap opening up there. Bieran's barely doing anything, but he is pulling away from Davidson. Davidson, big watch, just trying to get back to Bieran now. This group's been fairly tightly packed all the way through. Wooters, Kennedy, Rosethorn, Barry Wilson. Noboa, who was with them earlier on, has dropped back. Noboa there, 10th position. Adams and Jordan Twiddy. Like they're gonna swallow it up any moment. With Unsworth. And a little bit further back we've got this pair of Sigerson and Anderson, who started off with the bots earlier on and were quite far back in the pack, but they seem to have worked together quite well to bring themselves further up the field. Wearing the matching shirts of the cycling podcast. The RGT event. Andre now onto the last significant climb of this race tonight. 7.1 kilometers remaining, but we're up at 15.1%. Steadily increasing. I have a feeling something's gone wrong with Andre's heart rate monitor. It's dropped to 98 there, but it's just jumped back up to 154, 153. Tucson not giving up the chase though. He's 67 meters behind. Probably his last point to attack here, Tucson. Gradient's diminishing, and now Andre enjoying a little bit of this hard-earned descent. Back in the Wilson, Rowstone, Kennedy group here. Jordan Twitty's closing. Alright, powering away. Barry really putting the hammer down here. Gonna hit the crest first. Dropping Kennedy and Rowstone, who's been working with so well. Into the descent. 6.7 kilometers to go solo now. Harriet Kennedy there, and in the effort to reel Barry back in. Barry up with a 30-meter lead for a moment there, and on that descending section, Kennedy and Rowstone just swallowed that up. Barry still pushing hard. See Jordan now chasing up to this group. And just a quick thank you to all you guys who are watching out there, taking the time to make comments, join in. It's always appreciated. Lead of the race now. We've got Andre Fagara with 720 meters lead over Tucson now. That descent's really just opened it up for him, and I expect him to secure the victory here unless things go drastically wrong in the world of bike mechanicals. Double your issues, you're using a true mechanical piece of equipment and then throwing technology at it as well. Twice the risk of things going wrong, but hopefully Andre will manage it through there. Tucson on that descent and putting some F in as well. He's pushing out high watts here, trying to close the gap. Really still fighting here. We are 3.2 kilometers away from the finish and 500-meter lead to Andre, who is a strong rider. Getting a shout that Matt Adams and Anton Wouters are working well together. We're that close to the finish line at the moment. 2.4 kilometers to go. Try and pick out Anton and Matt. They are 163 meters behind the Rowstone, Kennedy and Wilson group. Two committed riders should be able to close that gap though, as Adams just springs on Anton there and goes for it. Is this the end of the relationship? maybe just a little bit of power put in there for Adams to get over that climb. And they're regrouping now. Andrei Fugada now with 900 meters left to go in this race. Small incline is all that stands between him and the finish line and victory. Toussaint wasn't able to close down that 440 meters now. Approach the line. Victory for Fugada. Alright, kicking down these last few meters, 40 kilometers per hour. Excellently paced race. Missed that moment where he broke away from Toussaint, whether it was a raw power or a small technical for Toussaint as he hits the hairpin there, heads back to the finish line, and he's completed the race. Hogs Horrible back at Toussaint. 520 meters left. And we have a few riders now that will be coming in, solos, or a couple of small groups come in, battle it out. And Toussaint comes up to the finish line. Time of 51 minutes 52. SP7 working a lot, big portion of this race on his own. Be glad to see the finish line. Darren's giving his congratulations to Andre. Bieran just slightly behind there has made a break to get away from Davidson. Open a 60-meter gap. Be interesting to see on this incline whether Davidson manages to recover that. Seven, 330 meters left to go. Comes up to the hairpin. Finish this race. His sprint up 13.1 watts per kilogram as he crosses the line. Bieran managed to increase the gap on Davidson up to 140 meters now. He does descend very quickly, Bieran. Davidson rode very hard there, but not quite able to reel Bieran back in. Jordan Twitty jumped the group of Wilson, Rosethorn, managed to open up a gap of 400 meters on them. As Will Precision Coaching was saying, that this last section of the course really has suited him. Give him a chance to stretch his legs. Adams went to Harriet there. Managed to stick to the wheel of Adams. Be a close one. Adams putting in all the power here. Harriet sticking with him. Be tight on this hairpin as all the power scrubbed away, all the speed scrubbed away with the braking. Adams comes around. Harriet, Rosethorn, Kennedy's in the mix. Adams just a little bit more left there. Adams, Rosethorn, Kennedy, and Barry Wilson. Down some rooters. Been working well with Adams, but Adams dropped him a little while back. And Unsworth comes through. Pairing of Anderson and Ferguson, who've been working hard together, come back from way down in the pack. See if their partnership continues to the finish line. And Anderson now coming up on the line. Continue to work together all the way. Oh, Anderson takes a flyer. Left his sprint to the last second there. Verhoeven. Darren's giving his congratulations to Andre, and a nice one, Jordan. Jordan did make a significant increase in his positioning there towards the end, and a nice ride from Barry as well. Barry riding very well tonight. The missed is a classic long club ride that he usually does around this time. Barry saying it's his first top 10 finish. Got Gilbert further down the group here. I think Gilbert's the last live rider. 4.8 kilometers left to go. Will's just asking for feedback on the out and back circuit. See how people found it. So you may find that there's more of these styles coming up, so you can get an idea for how painful it's going to be on the way out, and a bit repeated on the way back in as well. Tiny blip in the circuit there. Back into descent. Now with 4 kilometers left to go. Andre's just commenting in that he struggled a lot to keep up the pace on the climb, but it was worth it for the win. Didn't look like you were struggling, Andre. It certainly looked a good ride, that good solid ride. And I'm glad to say that I put you down for the win a few kilometers into this race, and it wasn't the kiss of death that I usually have with people as soon as they say they're looking like they're going to win. Gilbert just chewing up the miles now. Those who aren't aware of magic roads on RGT, this is what they refer to as a magic road. It is a road created by GPX. GPX is basically, it's how the cycle computers plot and store the routes that you rode, and basically it's a number of dots, and each dot has an elevation and a latitude longitude point. So effectively you're doing a join the dots, but also with an elevation element to it. RGT make it quite easy. You can fire a GPX route on an email into the RGT headquarters, and within about 5 minutes they've made your route and sent it back to you as a code that you can then ride. So from start to finish, it takes probably about 10 minutes to get yourself onto one of these roads and ride them. GPX qualities do vary somewhat, so magic roads are only as good as the information that you put into RGT, and there is a fantastic program called GPX Magic, which has been put together by a gentleman called Peter Ward, who accepts donations, which I believe goes to a charity for the hobby that he's created for himself, which is this program basically, and it takes GPX files and cleans them up, takes out the erroneous points, it will smooth corners, there's all sorts of different things. You can even make Strava art, virtual rides, completely imaginative rides that will then come out on the road and give you beautiful images for your Strava. That people will be wondering how you created them. Yeah, the GPX thing's brilliant, and I know Will uses that feature for training with some of the athletes, because you can actually ride the course that you are going to race. Really good for that. Yeah, your feed strategy, everything done. Bob on. Gilbert now 1.5 kilometers remaining. I think it's Joe Gilbert. I don't know my names. .1 kilometers remaining. A little bit of a drag up to the finish area. Briefly bring up this graphic again, which is helps to explain the zones that you can see displayed underneath the rider's name. So there's 7 different colors that appear underneath the rider's name, which relates to their FTP and where the rider's power is in relation to that. So we've got active recovery, which is the pale blue, endurance, darker blue, and then we go to green for tempo, and with threshold, VO2, anaerobic, and neuromuscular power running through. Slightly different colours in RGT to the colours in my graphic. I'll have to update those to match, make it easier to follow. It just explains where they are and the percentage of max heart rate, etc. As Gilbert comes up to the finish line round this hard hairpin. I'm just over an hour. Very respectable riding. And that will bring the stream to an end for us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed watching this event, and hope you'll join us for next week's and perhaps some other events during the week if we can get them out there. Have fun, enjoy your weekend. If you've got time, head over to precisionrewards.co.uk and check out some of the offers and the discounts that you can get through Precision Rewards.